Stop everything, because a major debate is unfolding in Washington that could reshape the American election system for years to come. It is February 2026, and as the country moves toward a historic midterm election, a familiar proposal has returned to the center of the political stage. In a scenario where Donald Trump is pushing his second-term agenda, he has recently signaled a move that has sent the political world into a frenzy. Regarding the voter identification debate, the message was clear. There will be voter ID for the midterms, whether Congress approves it or not. This isn't just a campaign slogan. It's a potential constitutional showdown. Recently, the House of Representatives moved forward with the Save America Act, a bill that would require documentary proof of citizenship, such as a passport or birth certificate, to register to vote. While supporters argue this is the ultimate move for election integrity, opponents are raising alarms about voter access. But the real question is, if Congress remains divided, could an executive order be used to mandate these changes? This move would almost certainly trigger immediate and historic court challenges. Tonight, we break down the legal theory, the political fallout, and what this actually means for the rules of American democracy. Let's look at the current state of the legislation. The Save America Act recently passed the House of Representatives by a narrow margin. This bill seeks to change the federal standard, requiring physical proof of citizenship, not just a signed statement, at the time of registration. Proponents of the bill say it's a common-sense measure to ensure that only citizens vote in federal elections. However, the bill faces a steep climb in a divided Senate. Critics, including many voting rights advocates, argue that obtaining specific documents like original birth certificates can be a significant hurdle for millions of eligible voters, including the elderly and those in rural areas. With the legislative path blocked, the focus has shifted to the White House. Can a president legally bypass the Senate to impose these rules nationwide? This brings us to the core legal conflict. According to the Elections Clause of the U.S. Constitution, states have the primary authority to conduct and oversee elections. Most constitutional scholars argue that Congress, not the president alone, has the authority over federal election standards. If a president attempts to mandate a national voter ID through an executive order or by threatening to withhold federal funding, it would likely be seen as a major expansion of executive power. This would almost certainly lead to an immediate showdown in the Supreme Court. The court would have to decide: does the executive branch have the right to set minimum security standards for federal elections, or is this a clear violation of states' rights? This isn't just a political fight. It's a test of the very balance of power in America. As we head toward the 2026 midterms, the debate over who sets the rules of the ballot box is only getting started. Whether you see this as a necessary security measure or a legal overreach, the outcome will define American elections for a generation. Now, let's look at the strategy behind the curtain. Why is this being framed as a matter of national security? In a hypothetical scenario where the president moves forward with an executive order, his legal team is likely to use a very specific justification: protecting the sovereignty of the United States. By framing illegal voting not just as a domestic error, but as foreign interference or a threat to national integrity, the administration could attempt to tap into emergency executive powers. This is a high-stakes legal gamble. Most constitutional scholars agree that the president cannot simply rewrite election laws. However, under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, or similar national security frameworks, a president might argue that ensuring the identity of every voter is a matter of defense, not just administration. This brings us to a massive point of friction. If the White House classifies election systems as critical infrastructure, does the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, gain the power to override state laws? This is the legal gray area that could be the ultimate loophole for a 2026 mandate. If a federal mandate is issued, we should expect significant legal resistance from states. The American election system is decentralized by design, and many states guard that authority fiercely. Leaders in states like California and Florida have historically taken opposing approaches to election law, and this new mandate would likely deepen that divide. In states with more flexible voting rules, attorneys general may argue that a federal ID requirement contradicts their state constitutions. On the other hand, states that already have strict ID laws might move to align themselves even closer with the federal standard. This creates a fractured legal landscape. We could see a situation where the rules for the 2026 midterms are contested in courtrooms across the country, leading to a period of intense legal uncertainty, just as voters head to the polls. Beyond the legal fight, there is the question of centralized verification. Some critics worry that a stricter federal standard could eventually require more centralized systems to verify citizenship in real time. Currently, voter rolls are managed at the local and state levels. However, some technology analysts suggest that to implement a nationwide documentary proof of citizenship standard effectively, the federal government might need to play a larger role in data integration. While proponents see this as a way to modernize and secure the vote, others raise concerns about privacy and the potential for federal overreach. The debate over how we verify who is a citizen is quickly becoming a debate about the future of data privacy in America. To add perspective, it's helpful to look at how other democracies handle this. In countries like France and India, national photo IDs are a standard requirement for voting. Supporters of a U.S. mandate often point to these examples as proof that a secure ID system can coexist with a healthy democracy. However, the U.S. constitutional structure is fundamentally different from countries with centralized ID systems. In the United States, the 10th Amendment and a long history of state-led elections make a federal mandate much more complex to implement. It's not just about the ID itself. It's about which level of government has the right to issue and verify it. As we approach the 2026 midterms, the debate over who sets the rules of the ballot box is only beginning. We are at a crossroads between a push for standardized federal security and the long-standing tradition of state-managed access. The Supreme Court will likely be the ultimate referee in this contest. But regardless of the legal outcome, this is one of the most consequential debates heading into 2026. It touches the very heart of how Americans participate in their democracy. Beyond the legal debates and political headlines, there is a deeper, more personal layer to this story: the psychology of the voter. In a highly polarized environment, the introduction of new voting standards often triggers two very different psychological responses among the American public. On one side, many voters view a strict photo ID requirement as a source of systemic confidence. For them, the ID acts as a psychological anchor, providing a sense of certainty that the electoral process is secure and verified. Supporters of the 2026 strategy argue that when every voter presents a standardized ID, it increases the overall trust in the results. From this perspective, the ID isn't a barrier. It's a tool that empowers the legal voter and reinforces the sanctity of the ballot box. However, many experts and advocacy groups point to a different psychological effect known as administrative anxiety. For citizens who may not have easy access to updated documents, such as the elderly, rural residents, or students, the introduction of new rules can create a sense of confusion or exclusion. Even if a voter is legally eligible, the fear of being turned away at the polls due to a technicality can lead to what researchers call a chilling effect, where individuals choose to stay home rather than risk a public rejection. This creates a complex psychological tug-of-war. Is the goal of these new rules to build trust by increasing security? Or does the complexity of the process inadvertently discourage participation? In the high-stakes environment of the 2026 midterms, the winner may not just be the candidate with the best platform, but the one whose narrative successfully addresses these psychological needs. Some see it as the final step in securing the American vote, while others see it as a hurdle that complicates a fundamental right. Understanding this psychological divide is crucial to understanding why the 2026 voter ID debate is one of the most consequential of our time. One of the most debated aspects of the 2026 strategy is the framing of election rules as a matter of national security. Proponents of this view argue that in an era of global digital threats, securing the ballot box is as critical as securing the border. They suggest that verifying citizenship at the point of registration is a necessary defense against foreign influence and ensures that American elections remain for Americans only. However, legal experts and civil rights advocates raise a significant question about executive precedent. They argue that if election administration is redefined as a national security issue, It could grant the executive branch unprecedented power to bypass state laws. Critics worry that this shift could disturb the traditional balance of power, where states have historically held the right to manage their own voting processes. The debate here isn't just about security. It's about whether the presidency should have the authority to override local election officials in the name of national defense. Beyond the legal arguments lies a practical reality: the financial cost. Implementing a nationwide voter ID mandate in 2026 would require a massive logistical rollout. Supporters of the mandate argue that the cost is a necessary investment in the integrity of the republic. They believe that no price is too high to ensure that every vote is verified and legal. On the other hand, many state officials and budget analysts are concerned about the unfunded mandate. Under the 24th Amendment, any ID required for voting must be provided for free to avoid being classified as an unconstitutional poll tax. This means the government must cover the costs of production, staffing, and document verification for millions of citizens. Critics point out that for many low-income or rural Americans, the hidden costs, such as traveling to a government office or paying for a replacement birth certificate, still act as a barrier. The financial debate boils down to a fundamental choice. Is this a vital expenditure for public trust, or is it an expensive administrative hurdle that diverts resources from other electoral needs? As we analyze the potential impact of the Save America Act, it's important to look at how different groups of people might be affected. For many voters, providing a passport or birth certificate is a simple, one-time task that they are happy to perform to ensure security. However, data from organizations like the Bipartisan Policy Center suggests that certain groups may face unique challenges. For example, an estimated 69 million married women in the U.S. do not have a birth certificate that matches their current legal name. While proponents argue that name change verification is a standard process, critics fear it adds a layer of bureaucratic friction that could discourage turnout. Similarly, young voters and rural residents may lack easy access to physical copies of their citizenship papers. The central question for 2026 is whether the system can be made secure enough to satisfy proponents of the law, while remaining accessible enough to ensure that no eligible citizen is inadvertently left behind. As we look toward the 2026 midterms, the political stakes could not be higher. Both parties view the rules of the election as a critical factor in the final outcome. From one perspective, a standardized ID system could stabilize the electorate, reducing disputes over ballot legitimacy and providing a clear, uniform rule for all 50 states. Supporters believe this will lead to a cleaner, faster election night. From another perspective, any major change to voting rules so close to an election carries the risk of electoral chaos. If legal challenges continue into the fall of 2026, voters may face conflicting instructions at the polling booth. In a country where elections are often decided by less than 1%, these rules could be the deciding factor in which party controls Congress. Is this a necessary evolution for a modern democracy, or a high-stakes gamble with the mechanics of the vote? The answer will likely define the political landscape for years to come. We have explored the 2026 voter ID debate from every angle, from the halls of Congress to the psychology of the individual voter. This is not a simple issue with a single answer. It is a fundamental conversation about how we balance security, accessibility, and the rule of law. Whether you see this strategy as a game changer for integrity or a risky move for participation, the outcome of this debate will shape the future of American democracy. The Supreme Court may have the final legal word, but the ultimate impact will be felt in every polling station across the country. What is your take on the 2026 strategy? Is a national standard the right path forward, or should we protect the decentralized tradition of the states? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation respectful and informed. For more deep dive analysis on the stories shaping our world, make sure to like and subscribe, and thank for your watching.